The pleasures that are in God's right hand are also created in the wife. The wife is supposed to be the pleasure of the husband. So as I wind out, I want to speak about pleasure. And I want to define what pleasure is. The state of feeling of being pleased, enjoyment, delight, or satisfaction, derived from what is to one's liking, gratification, delight, worldly or frivolous enjoyment, the pursuit of pleasure. So this is what pleasure is. But I will take you to Psalm 16:11, and I will say, and I will read, "Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore." So pleasure is in God's right hand. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. The fullness of joy. In God's presence, there is fullness of joy. And at the right hand, God's right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. So in the scriptures, we need to be very careful, because look at it this way. Thou wilt show me the path of life. That is how it has started. God, you are showing me the path of life. And then he continues saying, so God, you're telling God, you'll show me the path of life. So God, you're showing me the path of life. And then he continues saying, in thy presence is fullness of joy. So in this path of life, in the path of life, you will find in the path of life, when you take the path of life, you arrive in the presence of God. And in the presence of God, there is fullness of joy. So where there is life, there is fullness of joy. And in the right hand of God, because you are in the presence of God, now you are in God, you are with God in his presence. At thy right hand, in the right hand of God, there you find the pleasures forevermore. The pleasures. And we have defined the pleasure. Feeling of being pleased, enjoyment, total satisfaction. You see? So in God's right hand, the pleasures, there you find the pleasures forevermore. I will take you to Proverbs 5:18-19. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth. A lovely deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always in her love. You will see now where I'm going. This is another additional ingredient in a wife. That the pleasures that are in God's right hand are also created in the wife. The wife is supposed to be the pleasure of the husband. Feeling of being pleased, enjoyment, total satisfaction. You are totally satisfied. You are totally intoxicated. There is no single day that you will continue having the favor of God, the goodness of God, the pleasures of God from God's own right hand home with you, and you say you are bored, and say you can't stand her, and say you don't need her or you don't want her, because this is a feeling. This is something that you need and desire and want, and it is there to intoxicate you. It is there to fill you. It is there to complete you. It is there to lavish you. And this is who the wife is. So I needed to bring this particular so that you can know the completeness. What is the wife? Who is this who has come to be on board in your home? So when I said wife, the blessing, now you can understand why I used the term blessing, and you've already seen proved in the scripture that favor is the blessing of God, the beauty of God in its fullness, the goodness of God in his fullness. So this is who the wife is. And I will say this: one, the wife is a fire and a passion all the time in the mind, the heart, and sight of the husband. She is a delight, an extreme satisfaction to the husband. And number 2, I need to comment on this. We have the right to pleasure. Set yourself free. Lose oneself to pleasure. So when a husband comes home, or when a husband comes home to her pleasure, they all have a right to be. This is the wife. Actually, God has given him a wife. God has given him now pleasure. This is your pleasure. Delight yourself in your pleasure. The wife needs to be free. So there is no way the husband should be able to enslave the wife or make her uncomfortable or worried when he comes, because the wife needs to be. Pleasure is free. It needs to be and to do what it feels like in the presence of the husband, not when the husband is not there, because this is one with you. Pleasure has come to be on board and to live and abide with you. I will state this one, Colossians 3:19. Husband, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Now you understand. How can you be harsh with your pleasure? How can you be harsh? How can you be harsh with every goodness of God that God has bestowed upon you? How can you be harsh with the completeness, with the favor of the living God? Manifest and one with you. How can you be harsh? You cannot afford to be harsh with anything that is good. Anything good, any favor you have, you actually lavish on it. You love it. You want to be with it. You want to continue. You think about it all the time. This is your pleasure. This is your love. This is everything that you desire and want in this life. And that is why that scripture, Colossians 3:19, husband, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. And now you understand why you are told you cannot be harsh with them. You saw the wife and you thought, oh, this bodily shape of a woman. This is the goodness of God with you. This is the favor of God with you. This is the pleasure of God with you. So you cannot afford to be harsh with it. Colossians 3:19. The first one I said, husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. That is ESV. Now I will read the King James. Husband, love your wives and be not bitter against them. You see, you cannot be bitter. You cannot be bitter with something that is good that has come for you, and you're being told, this good, I brought this goodness to you. I brought this favor to you. You can only love it. You can only cherish it. And that is why you're being told love, because that is the immediate reaction. When you see a good thing, when you obtain favor, you just love it. When the pleasure of God is with you, you can only love it. And that is why God is straight to the point. You can only love. You can only love my goodness. You can only love my favor. You can only love my pleasures, because they are all here given to you. And now you can begin to relate from where we started from Genesis and why the wife was created. And now you're day by day, you are learning who this wife is. The pleasures of the living God. And I will close with this. Actually, I loved this scripture and I said I'm going to share with us today because it actually made me very happy. Because first and foremost, before I came across it, I didn't actually know it existed, and especially in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, we know many things have changed. Things have become easier. We have been restored back into our inheritance, into our place of blessing, because the second and last Adam, Jesus Christ, came and fulfilled everything that needed to be fulfilled and restored everything that had been stolen from us from Genesis by the devil, the serpent, through the first Adam. But now, this scripture was actually in the Old Testament, and that is why I was like, oh, we have to read this one, and especially in this topic of wife, the blessing. So it was about honeymoon and it is in Deuteronomy 24:5, and I will read Deuteronomy 24:5. When a man has taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, point of correction, or is it point of correction of clarity? Clarification. He shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife, which he has taken. The man shall take 1 whole year honeymoon with the wife. And the only mandate he has been given in the Old Testament during the law was to cheer up the wife, make her happy 1 full year. Now, do you believe me that during that time, because I tend to believe they know what we are reading and we have learned today, the man could never get bored. If you are doing nothing 1 whole year, you're not going to war, you're not doing any business, your work is to just please your wife, cheer your wife up 1 whole year. Now you understand why it is very possible that you can never get bored with your wife. You can never get bored, because what have we learned? This is the goodness of God in its fullness, in its completeness, in its full totality package that has come home to be with you. This is the fullness of God's favor in its totality, in its completeness that has come home to be with you as the husband. This is the fullness of God's pleasure. God's right hand of pleasure has come home to be with you. And that is why it was very possible for this man not to be given any work, anything to do 1 whole year, but to just stay home and please the wife, cheer the wife up. And you can see it is written very clearly to cheer. The only work that the husband was to do was to stay home and cheer up his wife, cheer up your wife, make your wife happy, do everything good, please this wife for 1 whole year. Not our honeymoon of our today, 3 days, 1 weekend. You feel actually 1 week, 2 weeks is too long. It was 1 whole year. That was Old Testament. Now I ask you, we are in the New Testament. Is it even not supposed to be 2 years and 3 years and forever? Because in the New Testament, honeymoon should be every single day. And now I can stand with boldness to say it is possible. It is very possible that a husband can take up a wife and never get bored for the rest of his life. And I close by those few words, saying that it is possible. It is very possible to be happy every single day in the union of marriage for the rest of your days. It is possible by knowledge, wisdom, understanding, by knowing who the husband is, by knowing who the wife is, by knowing and defining what is the union of marriage. And so far where we have reached, don't you think what I have just said, it is true? Have a glorious week ahead. Until next time, God bless you. Wife is the blessing straight from God. Thank you.